What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Tank Dell's high school, junior college, and college one-on-ones practice films. These are some of the best routes that I've personally seen in some type of practice film environment where it's receiver versus DB one-on-ones. This first clip is him in high school, and he is going to be running a route called a return route. A return route is one of the best routes that you could use in one-on-ones, especially if you were out of the slot. Most important thing in one-on-ones, you guys, is that you keep your routes realistic, right? Like, coaches want to see you be able to separate on the single move routes versus one-on-one coverage, like posts, corners, outs, digs, especially slants. But if you are going to run a double move, it's best to run a double move that would be like underneath, because that's more realistic to what you will see when you see man coverage. If it's man coverage, guys, it's going to be one of two things, or one of three things: cover zero, cover one, or two man. And two man is when the double moves will work. Cover zero, cover one, the quarterback's getting pressure, so we really don't have time for a post corner or like a stop and go. And against two man, a post corner wouldn't work because man coverage of two deep safeties underneath. Yes, the quarterback has time, but he's not going to drive the ball downfield. So being able to win underneath is what's most important. So I'm going to play this full speed. A return route is the opposite of a whip route. And obviously, Tank Dell's super explosive, and that's something that we all can learn from on our routes. So a whip route, right, is where you break to a slant for 3 steps, and then you whip back out towards the sideline. The goal is to get the DB to crash down. A return route is where you're selling like you're running a quick 5-yard out route, and then you return back to the inside. You never turn your back. You try to get your hips parallel to the line of scrimmage. So Tank Dell bursts out. The most important thing on a double move is that you don't want to change any speed when you are selling the first move. Obviously, Tank Dell off of this, because it really comes down to 3 things that will sell a double move. You got to have speed to the first move. You got to commit your hips. You got to commit your shoulders, and you got to take long strides. Tank Dell doesn't really take long strides on here because it's more of like a 1-step return route or a 2-step return route. But what he does do is that his hips and his shoulders are fully committed to the outside, and when he cuts off that outside foot, he bursts. That's what forces a reaction out of this DB. So even if you're running just a simple slant and go, when you break to that slant, you cannot change your speed. If anything, you got to accelerate even more. Now, to be able to get in and out of this break, you obviously have to be able to drop your body weight. You got to be able to lower your center of gravity, and you got to do it violently, because the only way that we're able to change direction while running with some speed is by being violent with my hips. I tell my receivers all the time, pretend like you were playing musical chairs. When the music stops, what do? You sit down, and you want to try to bring your chin to your knee. Now, on a whip route or a return route, the goal when you drop your hips is to be able to flip your outside foot to where your toes are pointed towards the line of scrimmage. It does not need to be perfect, but you want your hips and your shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, and you want your toes pointed towards the line of scrimmage. So if you're able to do that while you drop your weight, you'll be able to get out of the break faster, and you will be able to separate from the DB, which obviously Tank Dell does. So obviously way ahead of his time in terms of route running when he was especially in high school. Obviously he's a very explosive player, and the routes that we're going to showcase throughout this video get more and more explosive, because now we're going to show a route where he's at a junior college, and then we're going to show a route when he's at Houston at a Division I school, and it just gets better and better, you guys. So this is a great route that you could run in one-on-ones, especially out of the slot, and that is a return route. Now, before we get into those next couple of routes, you guys, if you are a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches, we are going to be traveling out to 4 more cities this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. We've already been to 11 different cities across the entire U.S. this year. Every single one of our camps has sold out, and our next 2 in Boston and Columbus have completely sold out, but we do have available spots in our Boise, Idaho camp and our Los Angeles camp. But guys, these will be completely sold out within the next week. I've been saying this for a little while on this channel that all of our camps sell out way in advance, simply because we limit spots so we can work with each athlete on an individual one-on-one basis. So guys, if you're local to Boise, Idaho, or you're local to Los Angeles, California, and you've been delaying signing up, make sure you sign up. Go to that very first link in the description below. We would love to have you there. For our Boston and Columbus camp, we do have a wait list, so if you reach out to us via email, support@firstdowntraining.com. Again, support@firstdowntraining.com. We can add you to a wait list and potentially open up some spots. We do have availability in our youth wide receiver groups for both of those camps. But guys, again, make sure you take advantage of the fact that we have available spots in these 2 cities. Go to that very first link in the description below. That's where you could sign up or contact us to be added to a wait list. So again, guys, very first link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. Now, this next route is going to be Tank Dell running just a simple post route versus inside shade off man coverage in one-on-ones. Again, he is out of the slot, and so this DB is playing inside shade off man. So anytime that we are deciding to structure a route, and this is why Tank Dell's so great, because obviously he's got speed, obviously he has explosiveness, he knows how to run good routes, but he knows how to structure his routes efficiently. That's something that not a lot of wide receivers do. A lot of wide receivers have the physical intangibles and might be able to get away with that, but as you progress to a higher level of football, because this is junior college football, this is still college football. A lot of people knock JUCO and, they treat it like, oh, maybe it's like a continuation of high school. It's not. It is still college football, and especially where he's playing at that last chance U school that, like, I want to say this is the independent school, and where Coach JB coached at. Obviously, big fan of Coach JB. But anyways, obviously, high-level talent. And a lot of those guys are D1 bounce backs. They have the D1 size, D1 speed. So, like, basic stuff isn't going to always, like, work, if you will. So a lot of times when guys have to run a post route and they get inside shade off man, their goal is to stem their route to the inside and try to square up this DB and attack his midline. But the second you start to stem to the inside, that DB is going to do something, start weaving, right? Which is where he keeps his leverage to the inside. Like I said, whenever you are trying to decide how to run your routes, you want to look for two specific things. You want to look for the DB's leverage and then how close or how far away he is from you. So in this case, he's inside shade. And what that tells me off the line of scrimmage, right when I walk up to the line, he doesn't want me to run to the inside. So it's kind of a problem when I have to run a post route, a dig route, or maybe even a curl route, right? So what I would want to do is I'd want to attack his outside shoulder and outside hip. The goal is to get this guy to open up his hips, and then we slip back underneath him, especially when he is sitting right at the depth of my post. Our post is around 8 to 10 yards, right? That's probably like a standard quick post out of the slot, and he's sitting right there. So we have to attack his outside shoulder and outside hip. Now, Tank Dell adds a little bit of creativity to this, and that's what we're going to play next. So he comes off the ball, and instead of just running at it, he uses this move called a rocker step at the top of the break. Now, the ball is extremely late, but there is spacing on the play. One of the main mistakes, and this is something like if any of you guys are getting ready for a college camp or any type of camp where there's one-on-ones, coaches want to see realistic routes. Like if you were to stem to the inside and this DB keeps his leverage and then your post ends up way over here and the quarterback throws it, like even if he throws the ball on time, the spacing of the play is going to be off. Especially out of the slot, you have other receivers on the other side of the field running routes. Maybe they're running a dig route. Maybe they're running some type of curl. You don't want to be running right into them because one defender could guard two routes, and that's horrendous spacing. So you got to keep spacing, and that's why we attack that outside shoulder and outside hip. Now, a rocker step at the top of the break, I'm not the biggest fan of how Tank Dell at the top of this route kind of started to chop his feet a little bit because I feel like that can screw up timing with the quarterback. I would much rather see him do this in stride and with the same type of speed just so we keep timing, unless this is maybe like a backside post scenario where we have a little bit of time. We have a little bit more time, but not a ton of time, right? But a rocker step is essentially where you step in the direction that you're going first, like a crossover for all you basketball players out there watching this. So he comes up, he steps with his inside foot first to try to sell like he is running a corner. And then he pushes off of that inside foot, his hips, his shoulders all turn to the outside. Then he steps, and that's what gets that DB to jump. And now we got spacing on this play. The thing about that rocker step, fellas, is that a disciplined DB in man coverage, what's he going to be watching? He's going to be watching our hips. So on the second step of this rocker step, he steps quick. The first step is not the most important step, but he pushes off of this step, and you see how his belly button is almost turned towards the sideline, but he maintains that position with his toe where his toe stays forward. So his shin angle is almost at a 45-degree angle. That is so we could push off of this foot, but still sell with the upper half. Your upper body needs to be separate from the lower body when you decide to make this move. And then obviously Tank Dell is able to push off of that outside foot and accelerate out. So if you run a post and you get this type of look, that is ultimately how I would run it. Now, out of the slot, it's probably more common to see outside leverage. So what you would do is you'd attack his leverage to widen him and then break to your post. But if you do see this inside shade look, especially if you were lined up on the outside, because that's more common to see, this is how you would run that post. But that is a textbook rocker step right there from Tank Dell to win on a post versus inside shade off man. Now, this next route is when he was at the University of Houston, right? And so this is before he was able to get drafted. I would assume this was his last year at Houston. And this is, again, practice film. And now he's out of the slot, and what does he see? He's got a DB lined up about like maybe 6 yards away, inside shade off man, and he is running a 10-yard dig. So this is, again, guys, like if you're wondering like how you should structure your routes, I always look at it from like, because I get a ton of questions like, hey, coach, how do I run a dig versus inside shade off man? How do I run a post versus inside shade off man? How would I run a curl versus inside inside shade off man. And the thing is, guys, you want to separate your routes by inside breaking routes and outside breaking routes. So the way he runs his dig is very similar to how he ran his post. It's actually the exact same. So what would you do? You would not stem this guy and try to square him up, because the second you do that, he starts to keep his leverage, and then your dig's going to run right into him. What do? We attack the outside shoulder and outside hip. So watch what Tank Dell does here. He comes off the ball, same thing, 1-2. Hits that rocker step, and then he's able to win on that dig route. So again, guys, it's the same concept. It's just based on inside breaking versus outside breaking. So he steps hard. It's a quick step in the direction that he is going first, and then he pushes off of this step and then is able to sell. Again, you see his belly button is turning this way, but where is his toe? His toe is pointed forward. He's got that inside like shin angle where it's kind of angled to the inside. You don't want necessarily your shin to be flat to the ground. That's something that I feel like is going to cause maybe like a bad knee injury. You don't want to reach outside your frame. You want the cut to stay inside your frame, but those toes stay forward. Upper body is separate from the lower body. And you see a disciplined DB who's watching hips, sees that, jumps to the outside, and you see the separation that we're able to get. Quarterback throws this thing a little bit earlier than the last rep, and he's over the middle of the field rather on the opposite hash. It's all about realistic one-on-ones, you guys, knowing how to structure your routes, but also having the technique to separate.